apology if I messed it up at the first go, but I'm sorry, but I'm going to make sure I'll look at the picture before sitting. Thank you so much. And thank you, Nitish, for joining us here. It's an absolute pleasure. And while being ahead of the time backfires, as people do not value a proposition at times, but at times persistence, resilience takes you through. And Nitish is a fine example of that. He coded a game when coding was a few decades ago, probably, and becoming mainstream at that point, and here we are today. He has a listed gaming company. So and that's not just a gaming company. There's more, and we'll just learn about it. So thank you, Nitish, for joining us here. To start with, which is your favorite Shami Kapoor song? I mean, now, if you don't know, let me tell you, Nitish is one of the lucky ones who can count the legend as his friend and mentor. And your first investor, probably?
So Shamiji was not an investor for me, but yeah, he was 60 when I was 16 and we became friends.
Yes.
And I spent a lot of time at his house playing with all his Macintoshes. He was a lot into he was an early internet adopter. And we brainstormed a lot in the mid-90s about what the internet is going to do to various industries, including entertainment. My favorite song is Deewana Hua Badal, which I try to play on my sax sometimes.
Yes, correct. And we know the other side of it, that he plays sax, and he has a band also called
The Jazz Junkies.
Jazz Junkies. Yes, correct. Thank you so much. So, you took a bet on gaming when even the, internet was available to a handful, let alone smartphones. While today we can look at it that it has paid off, but what encouraged you to start this, and how difficult was the path early on when you started off?
It goes back many decades, right? I came from a textile family background, but my dad gifted me a ZX Spectrum, which was like a mini computer, when I was 6 years old, and I got completely hooked to that. This is the mid 80s, and I coded my first game when I was 7. And that was the first love for me, right? Gaming. That's all I've done for the last more than 3 decades since then. I think that's how I got into gaming, and I've always then pursued it. But I came from a business family. So when I was in college in Mumbai, studying at Sydenham College, there was a culture of not attending much of the lectures. I did all of, I think, 8 lectures in 5 years, right? So I was more busy trying out my hand in terms of what can I do, how can gaming be a business. And I did feel, this was like 97, 98, I did feel that in a country like India, and when I would see my college friends playing games in the college, in the computer center, I did feel sometime in the future, this will become a large business opportunity. What I didn't realize that time as a young entrepreneur, I must have been 16 or 17, that maybe this opportunity is at least a decade away from being viable in the Indian market context. But as young entrepreneurs, you're just filled with enthusiasm and optimism, right? You just jump into the deep water without thinking too much.
Correct. So, that looks like a typical playbook that you don't attend colleges, college classes for entrepreneurs who made it big today. So, Nitish, while there are evidences that gaming improves mental health to a certain extent, and but it often veers towards kind of addiction, especially when money is involved. I know that your percentage is very low when it comes to money in games involving money, because Indians mostly offer free-to-play options. But what is a business, practice and ethics? Is there something that you do to maintain a balance for the users? And how do you ensure that everything that you're offering is within the regulatory bounds and laws?
I think this is a topic that gets discussed at my home twice a day with my wife, right? Because I have young kids and they're all the time on the iPad. And I'm always liberal, and my wife says, the screen time is a big problem. I do believe that as the world is transforming in terms of technology, and as we stand today, It's actually transforming even faster than we realize, right? So it is, look at the new tech that's coming, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's virtual reality. I was recently trying out the new Apple Vision Pro, and it completely, while it's still early days, it's going to completely transform over the next few years how we engage with technology. So I think kids getting introduced to technology via gaming at a young age is not a bad thing, because they are digital first, and that's where the world is going, right? That said, and because this addiction starts early, I'll talk specifically in terms of kids, right? As long as they are having a measured amount of screen time, as long as they're doing all other activities, which is playing sports or learning musical instruments, etc., I don't see it's unhealthy at all. But if a parent sees a situation where the child is only sitting 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day on his screens, then some moderation is required. And this is across everything in life. It's not about gaming. Today, you order a pizza once in 15 days through Domino's, enjoy it with your kids. It's a great family bonding and social time. If a child starts having junk food every day, it's going to be a problem. And as a parent, you have to moderate it. So I think responsible gaming for Nazara is extremely important. And we are very happy to work with government as well as, self-regulate in ensuring that we achieve that.
Okay, all right. So, there are entrepreneurs here who are listening to you right now. So, someone who's going to try his or her hand at, gaming business and startup. In India, the ticket size of spends is quite low, I believe. So, how does one go about building a business which is profitable yet, scalable and it's growing? Is there a mantra to it, or how do we take the what part one must take?
So India is a very interesting place to be, right? Because you have a lot of positive macro factors, a large user base, youth demographics, digital payments, which are really advanced now. So perfect place for gaming actually. At the same time, the ARPUs are low, the propensity to pay for games is low, but it is increasing as the content quality increases. It is definitely increasing. I think for any entrepreneur, whether in gaming or outside of gaming, it's important to focus on what I call real metrics versus vanity metrics. And in gaming, I'll give an example. For me, if a founder or entrepreneur is coming and telling me, I have 100,000 downloads of my game, that's a vanity metric. If he's coming and telling me I have, you know, good retention of my game and sharing the numbers, I've got good virality, I've got good monetization, conversion, those are the right metrics. So I think if the founder focuses on the real metrics rather than chasing vanity metrics, he should be able to be successful, because although India is low ARPU, the number of Indians are a lot.
Yeah, that's our benefit of being in India, and that's why the entire world looks at India, the number of people, the sheer pocket size that we offer. So, Nitish, moving to in your entrepreneurial journey from seed to IPOs, that's what we're talking about here. So, tell us some of the maybe one or two instances that really transformed your journey and changed the trajectory of your business?
I think right at the start, when I started in 98, 99, there was a large boom of what was called the dot-com boom, right? And there was a lot of hype. And I also had just set up my business and kind of, try to build a business there. Post that in 2000, you had the large dot-com crash. And 3-4 years, I personally struggled a lot as an entrepreneur, trying to get out of that crash. I'd taken external debt. I was 21. I had a debt of 3-4 crore rupees at that point of time. So I often joke I didn't land up going for an MBA outside of India. There was, especially my mom was very keen that I go to the US and do an MBA. But I did a more expensive and more enriching MBA sitting right in Mumbai, trying to solve all these issues, right? But I think a lot of lessons from those years have carried on for us till now. One is the value of every rupee, right? Whether you have 1 crore in your bank account or 1,000 crore in your bank account or 10,000 crore in your bank account, I think every rupee is important and you need to value it. The minute you start losing value for money, you will get into trouble. I think the other is lean and mean businesses. We've always tried to operate that way. When I saw a documentary of Muhammad Ali, a long time back when I was in my early 20s. And one quote of his, which is float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, really stuck to me. And I've tried to model our business in that way. So, for me, my interpretation of that quote was to float like a butterfly. You need to be profitable and not making losses, because losses will weigh you down. You need to not have negative approach in terms of a lot of litigation and all, because these things tie you down. And you need to be very nimble. And when the opportunity seeks, you kind of capture it quickly. So I think these are learnings over the years that I've picked up, which have really helped. The other interesting anecdote I can share is in 2004, I was just trying to get out of this whole dot-com crash, and we wanted to tie up with Airtel. We were making games for the mobile phone, and we were making cricket games, but we were an unheard of, unknown company. Airtel would not really talk to us. So one day I got really frustrated. I said, I really need to solve for this. Sachin Tendulkar used to be the brand ambassador of Airtel in those days. So I said, I'm going to try and get Sachin to partner with me. A lot of things happened, and after 6 months, I found myself in Sachin's home in 2004. And those days, his endorsement used to be $1 million a year. I'd gone with a budget of $10,000 a year. And we kind of struck a deal closer to my budget, I would say. So I think the learning was that you can dare to dream. Even if it seems impossible, there's no harm giving it a shot. And for me, the third experience was really in 2018 when Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala invested in the company. I think, again, we didn't expect that we could get him to invest, because generally he had stayed away from tech companies, and for him to come and invest in a gaming company was a big win for us. I think we learned a lot, and it was a big boost as we went public also.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala was very much against tech companies and startups, but then he invested in you, and I'm sure he saw some value there. So, one question which is that towards what we started with seed and your journey now, IPO, a huge moment for you, oversubscribed. We have seen many companies stop at the gates. We have seen in the past couple of years, especially when they're ready but not gone to the market. So if I can ask you that, what are few of the key things that takes you through when it comes to IPO, and what was the differentiator for Nazara that it went public with such a huge number of oversubscription for your issue?
Sure. So one is, we attempted our first IPO attempt was in 2018, where we actually stopped at the gate. Markets didn't do very well by the time we got ready. But we learned a lot at that point of time. So we decided to IPO the company right in the middle of COVID. I think it was October 2020 when we took the call to IPO again, and March 21 when we actually managed to list the company. I think for a lot of entrepreneurs thinking along that path, a few lessons are: one, you need to start thinking and acting as a public company much before, at least a year before, preferably 18 months before listing your company. So start preparing quarterly results, start being transparent about a lot more things. Disclosures are important. If there are related party transactions, clean them up. So I'm saying just become an internally listed company before you go public. And I think getting the right partners to take you there. In our case, of course, it goes without saying that, just with Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala's name attached to us was a big boost. But we had a fantastic team also executing, taking us across the IPO path.
Okay. You made a very interesting point that be listed internally first, clean your house and books, and then probably go. So with your permission, we will like to take a couple of questions.
Yeah, sure.
If there are any questions, yes, Miss. Sir, please introduce yourself and keep the question brief and within the scope of the discussion here, please.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm Pradeep from LivePure. So, Nitish, I have met your father 10, 11 years ago when you used to have IBG sessions in the Kamla Mill compound, and I was running a startup then. One of the questions which strikes to me is that gaming is such a very nice way of connecting to people, right? Right from kids to the elders in the family. How do you see this platform being used for social causes and social venture initiatives rather than just using it for entertainment. Are you looking at such initiatives, startups, or partnerships? For example, companies like Live Pure or LiveGuard, which is into green sustainability, would be definitely interested to see how that whole thing pans out.
You're right. With a large engaged user base, I think a lot of social awareness can be spread. We have done some experiments in the past. For example, we had launched something called Games for Good, where we partnered with Make-A-Wish Foundation. And kids playing our games could actually contribute the virtual currency that they are earning towards fulfilling the wishes of sick kids. Could be anything, bicycles or whatever these kids wanted, right? So we have done some experiments. There's a lot more that can be done, and we are very open to ideas towards that.
All right, thank you. We've run out of time, or else we'd have taken more questions. But one last question before I let you go. Which is the game that you play the most? Is it Bheem or is it, the cricket one? Which one is the one you play the most?
Actually, the reality is I don't play too many games right now because I don't know whether I'm working or playing, right? I prefer to play my saxophone.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nitish. So, ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for Nitish Mittersain, Nazara. Thank you so much.